Hello, basketball coaches. My name is Basketball Coach Alan, and I am the owner of Al's Basketball Training. Basically, today I'm going to talk to you about the basics of basketball coaching and essentially some of the things to look out for and some tips that I have learned over the times that I've coached basketball. So, as a coach, I've coached anywhere from the grade 7 level all the way up to basically late high school, grade 12 level. So, from there, basically, I've had a wide range of experiences when it comes to coaching kids with the parents and at the older age groups where they're starting to sometimes wanting to go to parties and things like that. So going from there. At the younger age groups, you're really needing to talk to the parents. Even at the high school level, you really need to talk to the parents and let them know where their kid sits on the team. So that comes basically first day. From there, basically right out of tryouts. So you've got your tryouts finished. You've gone through. I've made videos on how to handle tryouts and how to run tryouts and things like that. If I remember, I will link them in the top comment below. And from there, basically, first day is talking to the players and the parents. I always like to start with a players meeting where I go over kind of the what I feel about the team and where I think we're going to be sitting that year or this year, and then going from there where each player sits. So from there, as a group conversation, I'm going to say either, hey, we're a developing team. I want to see where our players are at. And everyone at the beginning of the year is going to get a good amount of playing time. But later on in the year, we will be tightening the reins. And your son might not be getting 20 minutes per game. He might be getting 10. Or if he was getting 15 minutes before, he might be getting 30 minutes near the end, or whatever it may be. Now, going from there, I would then go into individual conversations after a few practices. So after a few practices, I would then basically have in my mind where the players are going to be sitting. When it comes to starters, when it comes to the 6th, 7th, 8th man, and then when it comes to deeper players from there. And then I would sit down with the parents and the player together and say, this is where I find that you're going to be sitting on the team currently right now. From there, there's ways that you can improve yourself no matter what. Even if they're the number one player on the team, every single player can improve themselves. And I would give them an idea of what they need to improve on and how they would do that. So if it's dribbling skills, dude, just go out into your backyard or wherever and just start dribbling the ball more. Do some crossover moves, do some stationary moves, get into some games at maybe a local basketball court and just run and work on your handles. Or maybe it's shooting. Hey, go to a park, go to an open court somewhere and start shooting. Do some shooting drills, find them online somewhere. Here's a couple of links. I hope it's my channel. But from there, just run through some drills. And then that way you should be able to move up the ranks. It might be cardio, it might be whatever it is. And then, at least at that point, the parents are sitting there and they can have a conversation with you afterwards without the player if there's an issue on where they think their kid's going to be sitting on the team. Because there's nothing worse than not talking to parents and not talking to players and saying something to them when it comes to a game and all you hear is parents in the crowd saying, why is my son not playing? Why is my son not playing at all? What's wrong? This coach is an idiot. Because I've seen that even just from coaches of other teams when I've been in the crowd and you hear the parents just saying, my kid's the best kid on the team. I don't know why this coach isn't playing him. He's supposed to be getting recruited this year. Because believe me, those conversations happen. You may not hear it from the other side of the court, but those conversations happen. And then if one parent starts becoming negative, it starts spreading like cancer. And it's horrible. So first off, a lesson that I learned from when I was my first year coaching club basketball was I was told by another coach who I respect that I should not have picked a certain player. And I picked him because I thought he was athletic enough. His skills weren't there, but he was athletic. And then I had in my mind where I was like, I'm not going to pick the player, and I should not have picked the player, but I thought of his athleticism. And then I got talking to the club executive, and that's when it should have kind of flicked a switch. And the club executive said, you're picking that player no matter what. He goes to my private school, and if he does, and his parents already told me that if he doesn't get picked for the team, they're withdrawing him from my private school, so you need to pick him. That should have flicked the switch right there, saying, no, I'm not going to coach your team. But so I was basically forced to pick him, and I thought, okay, well, make lemon juice out of, or lemonade out of lemons. He's a good athletic player. He'll be probably pretty good on defense. So that's how I'll use him. And then it came to practice time, and he didn't practice. He was there, but he wasn't doing anything. And I've mentioned this to everyone on the team. I didn't have parent-player meetings back then because I didn't know if that was something that I should be doing. And then when it came to games, I wasn't playing him. I was playing him maybe 5 minutes in a game, and his parents thought that he was the greatest player since Michael Jordan. And this is at the grade 8 level. And they were then complaining and bitching and complaining. And then it got to a point where half the parents of the team were against me because of that parent. And then even my assistant coach was against me because I wasn't playing his kid all that much because his kid was 2'1", and he was the shortest player on the team. He was probably the shortest player in all of Ontario when it comes to it. But it was basically spread like cancer to a point where I almost got into a fist fight with my assistant coach because he was disagreeing with how I was playing the players on the court. I was sticking to a 10-person lineup, and the other two players who didn't work hard in practice, who didn't have the skills to be on the court and shouldn't have been on the court. One of them was that kid I was mentioning earlier, and the other one was the assistant coach's kid who was only on the team because his dad was the assistant coach, and that's why he was the assistant coach. Everyone was getting good amount of time other than those two players. And the reason why the other 3 to 4 parents who were against me was because I was playing their kids in the 7-8 role, which was getting 10 to 15 minutes a game, which seems like a good amount for players who have one skill set, one being rebounding, the other one being the ability to hit free throws and mid-range shots, where I could use both of those players at the end of the game, whether we're winning or losing. And we weren't an amazing team. We were kind of a higher mid-level team. So if we were in a game, usually if we were playing anything above us or just below us, we were pretty close in score, within 0 to 8 points within the last 5 to 8 minutes of the game. So then that's when you get your rebounders in and your free throw shooters in, because of course you want your players to be driving towards the rim, taking open shots, and when you're driving towards the rim, you're generally creating lots of fouls, so you want your best free throw shooters on the court. Now, going from there, that's all what comes from not having player and coach and player and parent meetings, is basically the parents and the players complaining about their playing time. That's the whole thing. If they're paying to play for a team, they want to get playing time. And then you always are going to have at least one player or one parent who thinks that they're Michael Jordan. So that is the biggest thing, and the biggest thing I can teach you right now is have your meetings. Make sure that you document everything when it comes to your meetings, saying this is what we discussed. You don't have to have them sign off, but just basically, this is where we discussed it. This is what we discussed. And that way you're covering your ass when it comes to the executives of your club. And then it's also opening up the conversation so that you're not having as much when it comes to the negative attitudes of players and parents. And then you're also giving them the ability to learn. So a lot of parents and a lot of players, especially in this day, don't like to blame themselves on what's going wrong. So if you can instill the ability to have them take criticism and then use that criticism to go out and become better at whatever they need to become, then you're creating not just a better basketball player, but a better human being in general. Because there's nothing worse than going into a technology store and hearing people say, I shouldn't have to pay because I dropped my phone because it broke and I dropped it. It's not my fault that I dropped it. It's Apple's fault that they didn't make it strong enough. That's just stupid talk. Anyways, I'll see you guys again later on today for the second video of the day.